Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Bachelor Nation News. The golden California sun bathed the villa in a warm glow, making the roses in the garden shimmer like tiny flames. Mel adjusted his jacket nervously, his mind replaying the whirlwind of the last few weeks. Every rose ceremony, every heart-to-heart, every laugh shared with the women competing for his heart, everything had led to this tense moment. But today, it wasn't just about choosing a rose, it was about navigating an unexpected, delicate question that had thrown him completely off balance. Peg Daughter, a sharp-eyed, fiercely honest young woman named Leela, had appeared seemingly out of nowhere, her presence immediately filling the room with both energy and tension. She leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, her brow slightly furrowed. "Mel, can I ask you something?" Mel swallowed hard. He had been prepared for dramatic confrontations with the contestants, for awkward pauses during rose ceremonies. But this felt different. Her gaze was unwavering, piercing right through the carefully constructed persona he had built on the show. "Of course, Leela. Ask me anything," Mel replied, trying to keep his tone casual, but the nervous flutter in his chest betrayed him. She took a deep breath, and then, with the kind of blunt honesty only a daughter protecting her mother could muster, she asked, "Are you in love with my mom?" Time seemed to freeze. The background chatter of the villa, the distant crashing of the waves, even the birds in the garden, all of it fell away, leaving Mel suspended in the weight of the question. His mind raced. How do you answer something like that without sounding shallow? Or worse, dishonest? He glanced toward Peg, who was sipping her tea nearby, pretending not to notice, but Mel could feel her eyes on him, full of that warm, expectant curiosity. "Leela," he started, his voice faltering slightly, I don't know if I'm ready to put it into words just yet. What I feel, it's complicated, and I respect your honesty, I really do." Leela's eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in a mix of disappointment and insistence. She stepped closer, her voice softening just a touch. "Mel, I see the way you look at her. You can't hide it. But I need to know, does she mean that much to you, or is this just a game?" Mel's heart pounded in his chest. He had never been more aware of the cameras, the production crew, or the countless fans watching every detail. But at that moment, none of that mattered. All that mattered was the young woman standing in front of him, asking the one question he couldn't fudge. He swallowed again and took a deep breath, choosing his words with care. "Leela, Peg has changed my life. She's incredible. Her strength, her kindness, her humor, it's like nothing I've ever experienced before. I can't deny that I'm falling for her. But I also know that saying I'm in love, that's a huge thing. And I want it to be real, not just words for a show." She studied him, her expression softening but still guarded. She took a step back, letting the tension ease slightly, though her eyes never left his. "Okay. I just needed to hear that. You can't play with her heart. Not now, not ever." Mel nodded, feeling a mix of relief and anxiety. "I would never, Leela. I care about her more than I can say, and I'll do everything I can to make her feel safe and valued, I promise." For a moment, the villa was quiet again, save for the distant ocean and the soft rustle of leaves. Then Peg stood, walking towards them with that signature smile that had captivated Mel from the start. "Well," she said, her voice light but teasing, "sounds like you survived the interrogation. Did you pass?" Mel laughed, a little nervously, and glanced at Leela, who rolled her eyes but smiled despite herself. "I think I made it through, but that was intense." Peg reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face, and Mel felt a jolt. There was something about the way she looked at him, part amusement, part curiosity, part something he was only beginning to understand, that made his heart skip a beat. "You know," Peg said, "sometimes the toughest questions bring the clearest answers." Mel nodded slowly. "Yeah, I think I just got one." And in that moment, standing in the warm California sun, with the ocean whispering secrets just beyond the garden, Mel realized that the journey of the Golden Bachelor was no longer about roses or cameras. It was about something far more real and far more terrifying, opening his heart, completely and honestly, to someone who might just hold the key to his future.
Lila retreated a few steps, her arms still crossed, but now with a subtle relaxation in her posture. The fire in her eyes hadn't gone out, it had merely shifted into a protective warmth, a silent acknowledgement that he had passed her first test. But Mel knew there would be more, and he braced himself for each one. Peg, ever the graceful hostess of her own heart, walked over to him, her smile softening the tension. "You handled that better than I thought you would," she said, her voice a melody that seemed to resonate in the villa's sunlit garden. Mel chuckled nervously. "I didn't exactly feel like I was handling it. It felt more like being grilled by a future in-law." Peg laughed, a sound that always made Mel's chest tighten a little. "Well, technically you kind of were. Lila's protective of me, and rightfully so. You're stepping into uncharted territory here." Mel nodded, trying to steady his racing thoughts. The villa felt smaller now, the walls of it closing in with the weight of questions, feelings, and expectations. He had come to the Golden Bachelor to find love, but he hadn't expected love to come with an unexpected gatekeeper in the form of Peg's daughter. The rest of the afternoon passed in a haze of polite conversations and glances that lingered too long. Every time Mel thought he could relax, Lila appeared nearby, her eyes carefully tracking his every move. She wasn't just testing him, she was watching him, weighing him, seeing if the man who spoke so smoothly on camera could truly match the man she saw in real life. Later, as the sun dipped lower and painted the sky in shades of gold and pink, Mel found himself alone with Peg on the villa terrace. The air was cooler now, scented with jasmine and the salty tang of the ocean. "Mel," said Peg softly, "I saw what just happened with Lila. She's not trying to scare you off. She cares about me, and she wants to make sure anyone in my life is serious." Mel looked at her, searching for the right words. "Peg, I don't want to just be someone in your life. I want to be someone you can trust, someone who makes you feel safe and happy. I know it's scary. It is for me, too, but I can't ignore how I feel about you." Peg reached out, her hand brushing lightly against his. "I feel it too, Mel. And that's why this is so complicated. It's not just us anymore. It's the people who matter to us, like Lila, who have to be considered." Mel nodded slowly, taking in her words. There was truth in them, a depth that went beyond the camera lenses and the staged romantic gestures. "I get it, and I want her to see that what I feel isn't a game, that it's real. If it means earning her trust, then I'll do it, no matter how hard it is." Peg smiled, a mixture of pride and affection in her gaze. "Then we'll face it together, and maybe, just maybe, she'll see that too." The next morning, the villa was buzzing with anticipation. Today's group date involved a cooking challenge, a light-hearted competition that could reveal hidden talents and, perhaps, hidden feelings. Mel, normally confident in front of cameras, found himself acutely aware of Lila's presence. She hovered nearby, offering suggestions but also scrutinizing every interaction he had with her mother. As Mel chopped vegetables and stirred sauces, he caught Peg glancing at him, a playful smile tugging at his lips. "You're nervous," she teased, though the warmth in her tone eased some of his anxiety. "I'm not nervous," he said, trying to sound casual. But when he looked up, Lila was watching him again, her brow slightly furrowed, arms crossed. The truth was, he was nervous. Nervous about earning her trust, about navigating her protective instincts, and most of all, about saying or doing something wrong that could hurt Peg. Halfway through the cooking challenge, disaster struck, or at least Mel's version of it. In his attempt to flambe a dish, a small fire flared, sending a plume of smoke into the air. Lila gasped, rushing over to help him fan the flames. "Careful," she exclaimed, her eyes wide. "I was just starting to think you were trustworthy." Mel coughed and laughed nervously, waving his hands. Okay, maybe that was a little dramatic, but see? I can be careful. Sometimes. Lila shook her head, a smile breaking through her initial shock. I don't know whether to be impressed or terrified. Peg, meanwhile, laughed at the scene unfolding before her. Well, it's certainly entertaining, she said. Mel, I think you just earned extra points for effort. The incident, rather than driving a wedge between them, had a curious effect. Lila's skepticism softened, replaced by a cautious curiosity. Maybe Mel wasn't perfect, but he cared enough to stumble, apologize, and try again. That mattered more than flawless execution. As the date wrapped up, the group gathered for sunset pictures, the ocean sparkling behind them. Mel found himself standing next to Peg, their hands brushing occasionally, and for the first time, Lila lingered near him without crossing her arms or frowning. She even allowed a small, tentative smile. Mel whispered as the camera flashed, "You're doing something right." Mel smiled, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the California sun. I hope so, because I don't want to just win a rose. I want to win her heart. And if I can earn Lila's trust along the way,
The
that would
evening
be everything.
sky had deepened into a canvas of purples and golds, and the villa was aglow with lanterns casting soft, flickering shadows on the stone pathways. The rose ceremony was approaching, and with it, the intensity that always seemed to grip Mel whenever he had to make a choice. But tonight felt different. Tonight, the stakes were personal in a way he hadn't anticipated. He walked through the garden, rehearsing what he would say, trying to steady his nerves. His heart raced, not only because of the contestants awaiting their fate, but because of Peg and the truth that had been pressing against his chest ever since Leela's blunt question earlier in the week. As he approached the ceremony area, Peg appeared, radiant in a flowing dress that shimmered under the lantern light. She offered him a warm smile that made his chest tighten. Leela stood a few steps behind, her arms crossed and eyes sharp, though a flicker of curiosity softened her usually stern expression. "Mel," she whispered, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear, "just speak from your heart. That's all anyone can ask." He nodded, taking a deep breath. "I will," he said, though the lump in his throat made it sound more like a question than a statement. The contestants were gathered, waiting for their fate, but Mel's mind was elsewhere. He could see the cameras rolling, capturing every gesture, every glance, but none of that mattered. What mattered was Peg and the unspoken question that had been hanging between them all week. Did he really love her? Leela stepped forward, her voice clear, cutting through the soft murmur of the group. "Before this starts, I need to know something. Really know. Are you in love with my mom, or are you just saying what you think she wants to hear?" The group froze, sensing the sudden tension. Contestants exchanged uneasy glances. Even the producers behind the cameras seemed momentarily silent, aware that this was no stage drama. They were witnessing something raw and real. Mel's throat felt dry. He swallowed, trying to find the words that could convey the depth of his feelings without sounding rehearsed. "Leela," he began slowly, "I can't imagine a day without her in my life. Being with her has shown me what it means to care for someone completely. I've never felt this way before, never felt so connected, so understood. Yes, I am falling in love with your mom, and I want her to know that every day I spend with her matters. I'm not here to play games. I'm here because my heart is telling me this is real." For a moment, silence reigned. Leela's eyes widened, and she studied him closely, as if measuring the truth in his words against the sincerity in his eyes. Peg, meanwhile, felt a warmth spread through her chest, her heart racing at the honesty she heard in Mel's voice. Then a small,
almost imperceptible smile tugged at Leela's lips. "Okay," she said quietly, stepping back. "I needed to hear that. I needed to know it's real." Mel exhaled, a weight lifting from his shoulders. "Thank you, Leela. That means more than you know." Peg stepped forward and took his hand, her eyes shimmering with emotion. "Mel," she said softly, "you didn't have to say it, but you did. That's all I needed to hear." The rose ceremony began in earnest. One by one, Mel handed roses to the women who had captured his attention, his heart firmly in the moment, but his mind always returning to Peg. And when the final rose remained in his hand, it was as if the world had narrowed to just two people, him and the woman who had unexpectedly become the center of his universe. Peg took the rose, her hand brushing his, and their eyes locked. There was a quiet understanding between them, words unnecessary, feelings undeniable. Mel handed her the rose, feeling a surge of hope and certainty wash over him. Leela, standing nearby, finally relaxed. She offered him a nod, subtle but approving. "You've got my blessing," she said, her voice firm but warm. "Take care of her, Mel. Don't waste this." Mel smiled, a genuine, heartfelt grin that reached his eyes. "I won't," he promised. As the ceremony concluded, Peg and Mel walked together along the villa's terrace, the soft light of lanterns casting a golden glow on their intertwined hands. Leela lingered a few steps behind, a protective sentinel, but her smile was no longer wary. It was relieved. She had tested him, and he had passed. For Mel, the Golden Bachelor journey had become far more than competition and cameras. It had become a lesson in honesty, courage, and the willingness to open his heart fully, even when the path was uncertain. And as he looked at Peg, feeling the steady beat of her hand in his, he knew that the most extraordinary moments were still ahead. The moments that could define the
night
rest of his
deepened,
life.
the sky now a velvet curtain dotted with stars, as the villa settled into a rare calm. The contestants had retreated to their rooms, the sound of laughter and whispers fading into the gentle crash of waves below. But for Mel, the night was far from over. He knew he couldn't let the moment pass without addressing the truth that had been growing stronger in his chest every day, his love for Peg, and the reality that Leela's approval was a crucial piece of this puzzle. Peg sat on the terrace steps, her face illuminated by the soft glow of lanterns, eyes reflecting the starlight. She looked serene, but Mel could sense a flutter of anticipation, the subtle tension that mirrored his own. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment, and sat beside her. "Mel," Peg whispered, almost hesitant, "what's on your mind? You've been quiet tonight." Mel looked at her, his heart pounding, and then over at Leela, who had quietly joined them, sitting a few feet away, arms resting on her knees. Her gaze was unwavering, expectant, almost like a challenge, but softer now, as if she had already begun to trust him. "Mel," he said slowly, choosing each word with care, "I've been trying to find the right way to say this, and I'm realizing there isn't a perfect way, so I'll just say it straight." Peg tilted her head, encouraging him with a gentle smile. "I love you," Mel said, his voice steady now, though his heart raced. "I've tried to deny it, to convince myself it's too soon, too fast, or too much, but I can't. Being with you has shown me what it feels like to care for someone completely, to want to make them happy every day, and to feel like you've known them forever, even though you've just met. Peg, I love you, and I want to keep proving it, not just to you, but to the people who matter to you too." Peg's eyes glistened with tears she didn't try to hide. She reached for his hand, squeezing it tightly. "Mel, I've been feeling the same way. I was scared to admit it, scared of what it would mean, but I love you too. And hearing you say it, it's everything I needed." Leela, who had been silent until now, finally spoke, her voice quiet but firm. "Mel, that's what I wanted to hear. Not just words, but the truth. You've been honest, consistent, and patient. That's the man I want my mom to be with." Mel turned to her, relief washing over him like a tidal wave. "Leela, I promise I'll always be honest with both of you. I'll never take Peg's heart for granted." She smiled, a small but approving gesture. "Good, because she's the most important person in my life, and if you can make her happy, then you've passed the ultimate test." The three of them sat there for a moment, the silence comfortable, filled with unspoken promises and shared understanding. The villa seemed to fade away, leaving only the stars, the ocean, and the profound connection that had formed in the past weeks. Peg leaned her head on Mel's shoulder, and he wrapped his arm around her, holding her close. "We have a lot ahead of us," he murmured. "I know," Peg replied, her voice soft, "but for the first time, I'm not afraid. I trust you, Mel, and I trust us." Leela, still sitting nearby, laughed softly. "Well, I guess you two can stop sneaking around now. You've officially passed my scrutiny." Mel chuckled, feeling a lightness he hadn't experienced in weeks. "I'll take that as a high honor," he said, glancing at Peg, whose smile made his heart soar. That night, under the stars and the soft glow of the villa lights, something shifted forever. Mel wasn't just the golden bachelor anymore. He was a man who had risked everything for love, faced a daughter's tough questions, and emerged with a heart full of hope and a promise of devotion. The journey wasn't over. Challenges would come, doubts would surface, and the cameras would continue to roll. But for now, Mel, Peg, and Leela had found a fragile, beautiful balance. A trio bound by honesty, love, and the courage to speak the truth. And as Mel held Peg's hand, he realized that sometimes the most unexpected questions lead to the most extraordinary answers.